Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of Remax Associated Realty. MyNextHomeFinder.com. Welcome to the radio show that features local small businesses, amazing nonprofits, and all types of inspiring stories to give strength, instill love, and provide hope within our community. It's time for Outspoken Outreach with your host, Dr. Amanda Hackford.
Welcome, everyone. Today we have one of the best nonprofits doing the most good, Salvation Army, and here to represent them, we have Captain Ryan Mio. So we want to say thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This is exciting. We've talked about it for a while.
Yes, it's very exciting. And we've already had Captain Amber Mio, your wife, here with us to discuss some of the things that Salvation does.
And you're going to make me follow her.
Yeah.
That's just not fair.
It's not, right? But we need more than one show because the Salvation Army does a multitude of things. So probably more than two shows, but we're going to try to get two shows in and then maybe have some in the future. You guys are just such an awesome organization that we have to do more than one show to get at least some of the main points in. We started off with Amber, just for those that may not have seen the show, to say first and foremost, Salvation Army is a church, which is the probably most important thing people need to understand. And then we wanted to kind of dive in today, and I'll just let them first let you say what you're captain. So just kind of tell them who you are, what you do for just a second before we get into what we're going to say.
Sure. I'm Captain Ryan Mayo, and my wife, Captain Amber Mayo, has also been on this show. So we direct and co-pastor the Salvation Army's church together, and then all of its social ministries in the community. We share that responsibility. And so we were transferred here last year in June. So we just finished our first year, going into our second. And we're blessed and privileged to be able to serve this community, because you forgot to say what makes the Salvation Army's work here so impactful, and that's people like you, Amanda, our donors and supporters and partners in the community. So that's truly that's the army of the Salvation Army, is all of our donors, supporters, and everybody who gets out there and helps us every Christmas, those long hours ringing a bell.
Yeah, we're going to say that soon.
Getting angels out there adopted and serving during disasters and all that.
And you guys are doing a fantastic job, a very, very good job. So, but we wanted to dive in and kind of talk about what we didn't get to talk about the last show and start off with disaster relief. So that's some of the things that you are very familiar with. So if you could kind of speak about disaster relief that Salvation Army does.
Sure. So the Salvation Army has been active doing disaster work all the way back. I think the first official disaster we served in that very specific way was in 1900. So think back 120 years ago to Galveston, Texas, where Galveston was destroyed by a hurricane, and the Salvation Army began specifically serving the survivors of that hurricane. And that really began something that has a ministry that's endured throughout the years and changed forms many times, all the way up to September 11th, when the World Trade Centers were attacked, and the Salvation Army set up what the firefighters started to call the Taj Mahal. It was a huge tent where firefighters would come, and Salvation Army disaster workers would take their boots off, wash their feet, and make sure they had something warm in their bellies, and conducted ceremonies as remains began to be removed from the debris there, and they really had an important spiritual and physical needs that were being met by our disaster workers. And then fast forward till just this past
just recently.
Hurricane Ida, our local team deployed out to serve in Ida. and basically every hurricane and major disaster since that point.
Exactly. And you guys just get up and go, and you're right there right away. So you have the canteen trucks, you have box trucks, you have just pretty much anything you could imagine that is equipment, coolers, everything needed to get in there and just get things done and give people what they need. So with the help of lots of other people, I'm sure. But you are some of the first people in.
Sure.
Other disasters, that's not the only one. It's just we're Floridians, so hurricanes come to our mind probably the quickest. But then we have, other than disaster, a big one is the ARC program, which is the Adult Rehabilitation Center that I think I didn't know about until you told me about. So that was something I didn't have any idea that Salvation Army did. So that's something that I would love to hear about from you and how you got started with.
I want to go back just a second to about other types of disasters.
Oh yeah, no, please.
I remember a good friend of mine, Gavin, who I met at an ARC program in 2014. He would go on to become a Salvation Army officer as well. But I remember he was sent back from our training college to Florida for your summer assignment. Between your first and second year of school to become an officer, they send you back to your home division to serve for a summer at a local corps. So he got sent to Orlando. And I remember that year, he preached his first sermon at the Orlando Corps in the Salvation Army Church there in Orlando. And he stepped off of the away from the pulpit, walked straight out the doors of the church, and reported to the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Oh yes.
And he served there almost his entire summer. The FBI investigators and families of the survivors, serving meal and conducting spiritual care for them as well, and prayer ministry. And that was an impactful time for him. And to this day, he reflects back on it, how important that time was. But our volunteers for disaster work are trained on how to conduct safe food handling, trained on how to use and operate our large equipment and canteen vehicles, certified to work as disaster workers, trained on how to become a liaison to local emergency management. So someone can
working with those other teams as well.
Exactly. Our volunteers are trained on how to work within the incident command structure, or ICS teams, and each person has a role, whether it's operations or logistics or emotional spiritual care or administration and finance. And so when those disasters come, our volunteers are trained and understand how to deploy and what their role is. And so because of that, it's very efficient, and that's the Army part of the Salvation Army. We're able to mobilize quickly and respond. And because the Salvation Army serves every zip code in the United States, those relationships locally are there. And so we can come alongside and assist people who are already working on the ground, have been for years. And so because of those relationships, that's really what makes our work so impactful for people.
And unique, because you are everywhere. So that camaraderie is already there to just get up, go, and then you're already there with people that know you or have a relationship in those other areas.
Exactly.
So that's very important. And that emotional spiritual aspect also, because people who have had a disaster and are right in the middle of a disaster and in shock and not knowing what's going, yes, they absolutely need food and help in whatever the disaster may be. So the disaster may be requiring different things, but that no matter what the disaster, they're in need of that emotional or spiritual care. So for you to be able to come in and give both is such an amazing thing. So that's a very unique and important thing, and I love it. I just can't even just express how much that is an awesome thing to be able to give and consecutively, at the same time. So.
Another reason disaster services are so important to Amber and I is, we used to, when we were dating, this is how big Salvation Army nerds we are. We used to go and take these classes together. So that was like some of our first dates, are taking these disaster training courses together.
But that's why you guys do so well, because husband and wives working together can be, it's a conflict. It can be stressful. So if you've done all that together for this long, and still can be, this doesn't mean it's not at times, but there you go. You're working things out and doing a great job. So got to have a break sometimes, I'm sure, but there you go. But on to because we don't want to run out of time and not be able to get to the ARC program. So let's get into that a little bit. Tell me about that.
So the way I got, so Amber is a 4th generation Salvation Army officer. So she goes way back and with her family. Her grandparents opened up more Salvation Army churches and service units in America than any officers in the history of the Salvation Army. So that's a really neat thing, and we're proud of that legacy of faith. Her grandparents and parents are amazing pastors and leaders. I came into the Salvation Army through one of its outreach programs. So in 2010, I checked into a Salvation Army for help at an adult rehabilitation center. And so that's where I found sobriety. That's where I found a hope that I didn't even know I longed for or needed. And the Salvation Army was there for me during that time in my life. Did you ever get sucked down a YouTube rabbit hole?
Yeah, just like TikTok or something. You're stuck there. You just kind of don't realize how much time went by.
Yeah, all of a sudden, you realize you're on this. You're watching people build huts in the forest for some reason. That algorithm is funny. But one day, I came across these videos, and it's like this whole subgenre of videos where kids who are born deaf and cannot hear, who have cochlear implants installed, and they video and record that moment they hear their mom's voice for the first time. And if it doesn't just move you to your core, it's like you gotta check the pulse. But it's amazing to see kids hear their mother's voice. And it was very much like that for me going to the ARC, the Adult Rehabilitation Center at the Salvation Army for the first time in my life. Like, I felt like God was speaking to me, through scriptures I'd see on those wall plaques and through the word. As we got into it, I really felt, that God desired a relationship with me, and that was a game changer. And so that's kind of where I discovered my calling to ministry in the Salvation Army. But I want to talk about that program, because that program and the role that it plays in our society is very important.
I just want to say that he definitely, that was his purpose for you.
Amen.
So all of that valley that you went through to place you there and get you back onto this mountain that you're on now, that was his purpose for you and where you're at now, and all this good that you're doing. And so we have to take those bad experiences that we went through and look at them as good, because it put us to where we are today. And so, but we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to talk all about the specific program and people that may be ready to go, if God's calling them to be there. Amen. So stay with us, please.
Hackford Landscaping is the full-scale tree service hardscape and landscape company that will do any outdoor job. Call Hackford Landscaping for tree trimming, tree injections, and removal. Services include landscape design, stump grinding, paver stone projects such as walkways, patios, and pool decks, landscape lighting, irrigation, hedge and bush shaping, flowers, trees, shrubs, rocks, sand, mulch and sod, and more. Any outdoor job, large or small, give Hackford a call. 772-584-7364. Online at hackfordtreeservice.com.
When pretty clean isn't clean enough, call Eco Earth Cleaning Services. Every deep clean passes the owner's inspection, and Eco Earth uses no harmful chemicals. Check out the Google reviews. They sparkle just like your home will. And Eco Earth Cleaning Services doesn't just clean homes. They clean offices, business suites, and even yachts. Eco Earth Cleaning Services won't just move the dust, they remove the dust. Give your company an earth-friendly way of maintaining a clean atmosphere every day. Search Eco Earth Cleaning Services on the web for more info.
Relieve your family of the burden of planning your end-of-life arrangements. Plan now so that when the time comes, all your loved ones have to do is cherish their memories of you. Learn how easy it is to plan ahead with Millennium Cremation Service at a free lunch and educational program in Indian River County, at American Grill, Olive Garden on 20th Street, Marsh Landing Restaurant, and more. Reserve today, 772-999-5547, or visit online at millenniumcremationservice.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Nolan from the Nolan Group of RE/MAX Associated Realty. I'm looking for new agents that are eager to grow their professional future. The Nolan Group has state-of-the-art systems and coaching to maximize your success. For more information, visit nolanshow.com.
Premier Cabinets and Flooring is your elite shop for cabinets and countertops. Stop by the showroom in Palm Bay on Babcock Street or schedule your free in-home estimate to see what Premier Cabinets and Flooring has to offer. They do flooring too, wood, vinyl, laminate, and tile. They would love to earn your business. So for cabinetry and countertop sales and installation on new construction or remodels, give them a call. They do it all. 321-345-4923. Premier Cabinets and Flooring.
We are back, and we're so excited to share with you all about the ARC program that Captain Ryan was just sharing with us. It's a great program, so I'm going to let him take it away and tell us all about it.
I love what you said about this being my purpose, and that and God, how he can use those parts of, our testimony that, we may not want to think about, experiences in our lives that we've had, failures that we've had in our lives. But that's one of the fundamental things about the Adult Rehabilitation Center, is that we believe that God can work all things together for the good of people who.
Well, he says that in his word.
That's right. Yeah. And they're called according to his purposes. And I like to tell people all the time, your experiences will make you a gospel-shaped key, that can unlock that gospel for somebody in your life. Your experiences will give you the authority, the wisdom to speak into somebody's situation. And that's a fundamental thing about the Salvation Army's Adult Rehabilitation Center. Day one is one of the most important days of your life. That decision that you make for yourself, for sobriety, that you need, that you open yourself up to get help. But day two is just as important, because day two, you have a job, and everybody has that job on day two. And that's to keep the doors open for the guy who comes tomorrow. And you're all pulling up that hill together. Yeah. And God's already starting to use you, whether you know it or not.
Right. Sometimes we don't know it, but we look back and see what's happening. Everybody's test turns into a testimony.
That's right.
And it's are you in God's timing? So sometimes we're ready and sometimes not there yet. But God has a purpose for everyone's life. That's right. Everybody's life. We just might not see it yet. So
one of the leading causes of death in our country today, is drug overdoses. Yeah. There's not really a person out there that you can probably find that has not been impacted in some way by addiction or alcoholism. It's a major problem in our culture and in our country and around our world. But it's, and there are people out there who are ready and sick and tired of being sick and tired and need some hope. And the Salvation Army is there in adult rehabilitation centers across the country, providing that place of refuge and recovery for folks. And not just recovery, resurrection.
Yes, and that's the important piece.
Absolutely. And so there are 5 adult rehabilitation centers in the state of Florida. You got Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, Jacksonville, and
Orlando.
Did I say Orlando yet?
No, I think
there's those 5. And so there are 5. We have one of the few ARCs in the country that has a women's unit now in Tampa.
Awesome.
So through our programs here locally, we do outreach through the soup kitchen and through the work you do, Amanda, and in partnership with the Salvation Army, and through our social services, where when we have someone here locally who says, I'm ready to make a decision for my recovery, we handle the pre-intake assessment, and we work with the counselors from the ARCs in Florida and provide transportation for them to get there, and the casework leading up to that. And so it's a 6-month-long residential program. So while you're there, you have a job starting on day 2. And you're provided counseling services, spiritual care throughout your time there of various kinds, nighttime classes and program, and you're encouraged and quite strongly encouraged to get out into the greater recovery community.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Find that community for yourself, a home group, sponsorship, family, and really, so you have those relationships there when you're ready to take that next step and move on.
And I want to make sure it's on the screen, but people listening can't see it. So the website for Salvation Army is salvationarmy.org/Vero Beach for our local chapter here. And you can find from that main website any other links for disaster relief, for the SRA program, for any other thing you have questions about for Salvation Army, even if it's food or social services. Everything is on that website, salvationarmy.org/Vero Beach, or just salvationarmy.org if you're in another location. But we do want to make sure that if you have it in your heart to help Salvation Army, because we can't do these things without help, of course, because it is a nonprofit organization. One of the biggest fundraisers of the year is bell ringing. Everybody's seen them. You've always seen those red buckets. We should have brought one, but all of during this time of the year, you go by the store, all the stores, and you see the red tin, the person ringing the bell. That is for Salvation Army. That helps these people who are ready to commit to getting help. That helps disaster relief for all those disasters. That helps Salvation Army provide food for families that can't afford food, and the list goes on and on and on. So you have change in your pocket, throw it in. If you have more than change and you have it in your heart to help, dollar bills and checks are always great to put in there. But change is always good. Change adds up. But also if you have no money and you can just stand and ring a bell, volunteers are always needed for the bell ringing, which you can also go right on to that website. And then there's a link to the
registertoring.com.
registertoring.com. You can sign up to be a bell ringer. And
I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it one more time. That's one of the most amazing things about serving in this community. We are 100% volunteer with our kettle program. And so every person out there is just out there ready to do some good for their community out at the bell. So they're all volunteers. You can sign up. You can sign up your family. You can sign up with your friends or your office or your team or group or association.
High school kids may need volunteer hours. You can get some volunteer hours out of the way and be doing something good.
And that money stays locally, right here to serve our community in Indian River County.
Which is a good thing. You know that it's staying here, and that always matters to a lot of people too. Mm-hmm. So you're helping somebody right in your own community. So that's good. And before we run out of time, is there any last piece that you want to add before we go about our local chapter, or just you or Amber in general, or anything?
Sure. You can actually this year. Did you know you could have a virtual Capt?
Yes, I forgot to say that.
Maybe you're just a big wimp about cold weather, like I am. Even though we don't have cold weather, no cold here. The one day a week, or the one day of the season, it gets too cold to ring bells. If that's too much for you, you can do a virtual kettle.
Yes, you can.
Which I did last year, and it was really easy to make. And you can share it on Facebook or your other social media with your friends to link to it.
Or if you're a business and you want to sponsor a kettle.
That's right. You can do that too. You can do all of that at registertoring.com.
Or virtual. A business can have a virtual.
Stop by and see us. Yes. We'd love to see you as well.
5th Street Southwest in Vero Beach. Just pop in, see someone, and they'll be happy to help you out. They're friendly. Everybody in there is amazing. Yeah, I know firsthand.
We have a great team.
So go by, say hi, get a kettle, and thank you for coming. As always, everyone, stay safe and be blessed.
God bless you.